Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into NC News once again. I am your host Travis Troller, and this is where we talk about everything that has happened in the nerd world in the past week. This is our little 5-minute roundup, so thank you for watching. And as usual, we're going to jump right into it, starting off today with some gaming news. Now specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about Xbox today, more specifically the Xbox Series X and its specs for the new console that's going to be coming to market here soon. First of all, we have ourselves a custom AMD Zen 2 CPU along with a AMD RDNA 2 GPU for those amazing graphics that they're talking about, along with 16 gigs of RAM, which is the standard that you usually want, along with 1 terabyte of custom SSD storage. You gotta go SSD, you don't want to go mechanical. SSD is where it's at nowadays. And of course, it's going to be using 2 main boards, which is fairly interesting, along with a 130mm fan to allow for a nice coolant system to go through the ventilation that's been established at the bottom of the console and push out through the top of the console. And of course, it has the new aesthetic look of having the tower aspect, so everything's a little bit more compact and upright, kind of how most regular cabinets for PCs are. So it's definitely a new direction, a new design that Xbox is going for now. They're having it that with the 16 gigs of memory for the RAM that they're allowing, they're dividing it up into 3 separate parts. 10 gigs of that is going to be going to the GPU memory because they're really trying to push for having the best graphics that they can possibly have on the market, while the 3.5 gigs are going to go to the standard memory for, you know, things such as like your processing power for your programs and your games, and then they're going to have the 2.5 gigs left over going for the OS reserved for, you know, running things such as like stuff off the store and whatnot, and the internet aspect of it as well. And of course, they do have the option, like every other console has had before, where they're going to try to expand on the storage by having the option to have 1 terabyte expansion cards that I believe are going to be SSD and will be USB external 3.2 HDD support, which is the standard USB ports that we have nowadays, so it shouldn't be anything too elaborate. But of course, for all you gamers out there that like to really stockpile your games, you know, the internal storage probably isn't going to be as much as we would like, but that's happened in the past, so be prepared to have to buy external hard drives in order to save all your games in a certain area. But with all this being said, they're putting all these aspects into it and they're giving it all these specs because specifically what they are branding themselves on right now is that they are trying to make this new Xbox, this Xbox Series X, the fastest on the market. They are trying to promise that they are going to have the best graphics with the best and fastest load times, and more specifically, they're also priding themselves on the fact that you'll be able to open and run multiple things, multiple games, multiple programs at the same time without barely any load time, so that way you can jump around from one to the other, and it's supposed to be a seamless and very fluid gaming experience. But of course, with gaming news, we're also going to try to dabble into the other aspects of gaming, not just Xbox. So we got something that's loosely related to PlayStation. Of course, we have Resident Evil 3 Raccoon City. Now, I know what you're saying, Resident Evil 3, it's an old game. It came out in 1999, I believe, for the original PlayStation, of course, but it's a big fan favorite. It had a lot of hype back then. It's one of the classics. But now it's getting a remake, which is bringing back a lot of word of mouth. Resident Evil has been going in the direction of, you know, remaking some of its games with the first, second, and now this 3rd installment as well. But we have basically news that the remake is going to be coming out fairly soon, but the demo is going to be released on March 19th, while the Resident Evil Resistance Open Beta is going to be released on March 27th. And that's just going to hold us gamers over until eventually the full game will be released on April 3rd. And then of course, moving away from PlayStation, let's quickly talk about Nintendo. Now, everything I've said up until this point has been in favor for Xbox and PlayStation, pretty good news, but Nintendo, it's kind of lacking lately. Recently, Nintendo had an issue about a week ago now, very recently, since this video is coming out to you, that their online servers basically completely just took a shit and shut down. So it's looking a little interesting for Nintendo, and because of that, their e-stores were down and were not working, along with their multiplayer servers. So people that did have any sort of multiplayer games couldn't really get onto the servers in order to play with their friends. This is of course similar to an issue that Microsoft actually had a while back with their Xbox Live servers going down for I think a full 24 hours, which was causing a lot of gamers to kind of go on hiatus. But as of right now, when this video is reaching to you, it seems that they were able to get their servers up and running, but that wasn't without some hiccups. They actually had it down for I think a good few hours, and then they brought the e-store back, but they were still making comments on Twitter and everything to let fans know that even though the e-store is up, it's still probably going to run into some issues, still going to have some performance problems, but now they're stating that everything is fully back up and running and they shouldn't have any issues. I think what the most concerning thing would be in this case scenario is the fact that their servers are kind of, you know, lingering a little bit. They're breaking down. They have this shutdown, and it's kind of at a poor time given the fact that it's only a few days from when their newest titles, Animal Crossing New Horizon, is bound to come out. So it kind of makes you wonder if signs are looking good for Nintendo for now and into the future. And I can only worry for people that have Nintendo, given the fact that they have this new game that is highly anticipated, because Animal Crossing is a big title that people love and follow. And who knows what's going to happen when, you know, the game comes out and everybody starts, you know, going to download it. And who knows if Nintendo's servers are going to be able to handle that, given that it's already had issues. And then, to try to leer away like we usually do from gaming news, let's jump into comic book news. Now, this one, it's going to share a common theme from here on out. It has to do with, of course, the thing that everybody is talking about. It's on everybody's mind, so we're going to address it. Yes, it's the coronavirus pandemic. The coronavirus is basically kind of affecting, you know, most retail stores and everything, because people are trying to take the necessary health precautions in order to not be in large amounts of social groups. They're trying to reduce their risk of getting the virus and whatnot. So of course, most comic book publishers and retailers, like their stores, are kind of struggling a little bit with this. But in terms of this, we actually have a man, Paul Levitz, you might know as a retired DC publisher. He actually worked for DC for about 35 years and actually was president of the company from 2002 until 2009. And he actually kind of noticed the pandemic of the coronavirus going on, and he knew that this would be an issue for most comic book stores, and he decided to give, kind of from his personal experience, his own 2 cents about tips and tricks that they could do in order to kind of keep themselves above water in this time of crisis. He went on to give advice to help them, such as making any novels that they release for the next 2 to 3 months completely returnable, so that way it can incline people to, you know, maybe come back into the store to exchange their old novels for new ones and whatnot to keep the rhythm going. He also said offer more things like additional deals and discounts for items, that way people are more inclined to buy stuff in this time of basically isolation. He was also thinking that since people are kind of trying to cocoon themselves from you know, the outside world and society, because they want to limit their risk of catching the disease, he said to offer things like off-hour or curbside service, so that way people don't necessarily have to go to the you know, to the stores during the office, you know, work hours, so they can kind of shop and do their own stuff from the comfort of their own home. He's also saying that since a lot of people are probably going to be doing that, with shopping online and browsing online and purchasing online to keep themselves contained, he's saying that, you know, sweeten the deal on purchases that people can make for comic book stores by allowing UPS service, you know, to transport their items for little to no cost at all. That way people are more inclined to just buy the product and not have to worry about the haggle of adding on more additional money for getting it shipped to their house, which is, I think, a pretty smart idea, and I think going to be pretty well utilized for anybody who's going to be cocooning themselves in and you know, reading while they're trying to wait for this whole thing to kind of run its course. He's also thinking about doing something along the lines of adding backstore bonuses, which would basically mean that anybody that went to buy something, you could probably have the additional offer of kind of making your purchase like a care package, so you can get some mystery items. So it kind of works like a 2 birds 1 stone thing. That way you as a buyer can hopefully get, you can be surprised. You can get a little bit more bang for your buck and be surprised with some mystery items that you wouldn't expect to get. You might get some like collector's items, some comics, some old movies, you never know. But it also allows for the comic book stores to sell more of their merchandise. And he also made a trick saying, you know, the older stuff that's usually sitting in the back collecting dust that's not really selling, use that as your mystery item, so that way, you know, you're more entitled to get it out the door. So it's a give and take, but it's still both aspects. It's pretty beneficial for both parties. And of course, the other thing is to keep hype going with the whole comic book world. They're thinking about just trying to come up with ideas for generating remote events for fans to take a part of without having to physically be there, such as maybe doing ideas like having comic book celebs, like doing YouTube videos or streaming like in Periscope or something, so that way the fans can still interact and you can still cross collab and promote your stuff, so that way there's still word of mouth going around, there's still a supply and demand for the products that they're trying to sell. All in all, I think it's admirable that this man is trying to, you know, keep the businesses afloat, because yes, some would maybe think that this is a little bit manipulative, but let's be honest, that's just how business works. And he personally said that comic books are what brought him up in his life. It's what got him to where he is today. So he's just basically thinking of them as his family, and he's trying to make sure that his family doesn't, you know, struggle in this time of need. So you got to respect him for that, and honestly, it's pretty smart. But of course, talking about all this and how the coronavirus is affecting a lot of things, it's not just affecting comic book stores, it's affecting everybody. Like I said, it's affecting our movies, and that's where we get into the unfortunately sad movie news that we have for you guys. Now, it's no news that a lot of upcoming films that we've been really excited for, you know, releasing into theaters that we really want to watch, of course, are being postponed because of this coronavirus. And it's very unfortunate, but we do have a mixture of basically some films that have been postponed to a later date that already has been confirmed, or we have other ones where they've been postponed for indefinitely, and we won't really hear anything until this whole pandemic has run its course. But we have films to look forward to, such as 007 No Time to Die, which was originally set to release in April of this year, but now it's been pushed back to November 12th in the UK, and then November 25th for the US of this year. So it's kind of a long wait, but you can still appreciate the fact that we're still getting a date and a promise for when this film is hopefully going to come out. So a little bit longer of a wait time for Daniel Craig's final, you know, last hurrah as 007 before he exits the franchise. And then of course we always have the Fast and Furious films, and specifically Fast 9, which was set to release May of this year, but now they've pushed it back an entire year, going on to say they're going to release their film now in April 2nd of 2021. Now this is very interesting because a year's kind of long, to be honest with you. I wonder if they're thinking that this pandemic is really going to go on for that long, and they're just trying to frame out everything, or they're playing it smart and they're already trying to write for the next few movie installments while they have the free time. So we won't know, but for all you Fast and Furious fans, yeah, you're gonna have a long time to wait to be able to see that movie. So hopefully you're patient enough to you know, shroud yourself in and wait for that installment to come out. And of course, this one was really surprising to me, Matrix 4. Now, I know there's been news in the past about this film coming out, but what's really surprising is how soon this film was supposed to release. Apparently, it was set to release this year, May 21st, and so far, the date has not changed. So it's still expected, as of right now, for it to release on May 21st, which blew my mind because I thought they were still in pre-production, or they just started filming on set. So the fact that they're already done and expecting release sooner than any other film, and they don't really have a delay due to the pandemic, it's honestly something to root for. And I'm a big Matrix fan, so if that can stay the same and not change, very excited, because then I can have that to look forward to at least, and I would be very happy for that. And of course, for all you little kids out there, you know, if you've ever seen the fantastic movie Peter Rabbit, well, it's getting a sequel, obviously. It's called Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway. This is the only other film, major motion picture, that is basically getting pushed back, but still with a release date, because it was originally released to come out in March of this year, but now it's been pushed to August 7th. So a little bit of a wait time, not as exaggerated as other films. But if anybody, you know, is looking forward to going to see that, maybe with their kids or something, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit more of a wait time. But again, I think a few months, not too bad, not too bad of a wait out if that's a movie you're really dying to see. But then this is where heroes go to die, because now we have the films that we're really excited to see, in my personal opinion, but they do not have a release date any longer. We are expected to sit here, sitting on our hands, waiting for these to hear an announcement of when we're going to potentially see these films again. These are going to include movies such as Marvel's Black Widow, which was really a blow to me personally, because I was very excited to see Scarlett Johansson back at the helm playing her iconic character once again. It was originally supposed to release May 1st, but now we're on hiatus until we hear otherwise. And then we had A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, I was a fan of the first one, so when I heard the second one was going to happen, super excited. But then, of course, as of recently, John Krasinski tried to address the fan base, saying that due to the pandemic, you know, he wanted to hold off on it and everything, and he mainly was stating that he would rather have it released at a time when everybody can come together to watch it, rather than in this dissected time. And then, for all you Disney fans, unfortunately, the anticipated Mulan remake has also been pushed back for God knows how long, because that was supposed to come out in March of this year, but now we don't know, and it's going to be a while until we hear anything from Disney, because they're basically kind of shutting off all communication, and they're trying to wait this thing out as well. And then the one that gets me completely is New Mutants. Now, we've talked about this in past videos, so it's kind of funny, but if you don't know, let me give you some insight. New Mutants has been an X-Men franchise film that has been literally in the works for who knows how many years. New Mutants was a film that was set to release years ago, but due to, I guess, pre-production and actual on-set production delays, it kept being pushed back to the point where we were starting to question if it was ever coming out, until recently where we had coverage that the film was actually ready, the final cut was done, and people were very pleased with how it turned out, and it was ready to go, and they finally had a release date for it, which was supposed to be in April of this year. So we were finally going to get the movie that was highly anticipated and just kind of on hiatus. And now, because of this virus going around, it's been put on hiatus once again, indefinitely. So now, again, this movie is getting another delay, and I don't know how long it's going to take it until it's just going to probably die in the cutting room floor. So hopefully we're going to see the day when we can finally watch this film, because I don't know about you, but I'm starting to lose interest, but I feel like I kind of owe it to myself now to want to watch this film because it's been delayed so much. But that's probably just my opinion. You can let me know down in the comments if you feel the same way. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for us here at Nerd Culture. Thank you for tuning in once again to watch NC News. If you liked anything we talked about and you have your own personal opinion on them, make sure you let us know down in the comments down below. Also, if there's something we didn't bring up, let us know your thoughts down below. This is a time when we really need to come together and discuss. So please share your comments down below. Let's get a conversation going. And also, while you're here, make sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, so that way you can be notified on all new videos that come out the second that they do. Make sure to go check out this podcast in its full form over on our Anchor and on Spotify at It's Nerd Culture, where we talk about all this stuff in very much greater depth. Speaking of our social media, make sure to follow us on all forums, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter, at It's Nerd Culture. We appreciate you guys, and I understand things are hectic right now with the virus and whatnot, but we just want to say, instead of giving you a little snippet of information like we like to do, we're just going to leave you with a message from everybody at Nerd Culture saying thank you for watching, and also keep yourselves healthy, keep yourselves safe, enjoy guys. Thank you for tuning in once again. I'm Travis from Nerd Culture. We'll catch you next time. Stay safe everybody.